Sahana bhavatu, sahanau bhunaktu, sahaviryam karavavahai, tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So continue with the part 2. Man's duty towards Godhead. This is the day part of the study guide. Our personalities in Bhagavad-gītā. Okay, so we start with the Adhikaranas in the context of Daśa-mūla-tattva. So there are 4 Adhikaranas. Adhikarana 1. Every living entity is Godhead's parts and parcel, and it is everyone's duty to cooperate with him by performing transcendental loving service. Something familiar? Well, this was the beginning of the Bandhava part as well. Living entities, parts and parcels, and but here in the Bandhava part was more like a statement explaining the relationship, the position. Here, and therefore, it's everyone's duty. There is a natural consequence in this position. If you're part of something, if you're the small, he's the infinitesimal, the big one, then the great one, then your duty is to cooperate. Okay, then Adhikarana 2. Good works, salvation by knowledge, or perfection by mystic powers are all subordinate to the transcendental loving service of Godhead. We had similar thing in the. Do you have study again? Do you have study again? No. No. We had similar topic in the Sambandha part. Good work is karma, salvation by knowledge is jnana, and perfection by mystic powers is yoga. They all subordinate to a transcendental loving service of Godhead in the sense that they are part of the original process, bhakti-yoga, just different aspects of devotional service. Devotional service includes karma, jnana, and yoga. How? Because there is activity, we serve Krishna, this is karma. There is knowledge, we know about Bhagavan, and then there is meditation on Krishna. So, and then the bodhisattva even get the mystic powers also, because they don't use them. And also because the result of bhakti includes all of this, the results of all those. This is to say that by bhakti one can attain these results, but by bhakti one can attain something much higher. Then Adhikarana 3. Such transcendental loving service of Godhead is attainable by the association of saints. We had the same topic in the Sambandha. What was the topic? It was you remember the lesson? Those who were here. There was the doubt. How the living entity can be at all liberated by association of pure devotees. And then Adhikarana 4. Shri Krishna is the ideal saint, so one should approach Shri Krishna through his transparent medium, spiritual master, and thus Shri Krishna will reveal himself. Association of saints, so it is not by itself, it is not something isolated. The saintly association leads to the ideal, to the supreme saint, who is Krishna. And then Daśa-mūla-tattva, he stated 9. Pure devotional service is the living entity's occupation and means. So this is the connection with Daśa-mūla-tattva. Abhidaya. So we'll read the first Adhikarana. Okay, who wants to read? Adhikarana 1.
Every living entity is Godhead's part and parcel, and it is everyone's duty to cooperate with him by performing transcendental loving service. Read the lessons. Lesson 1. Every living entity is Godhead's part and parcel, and it is everyone's duty to cooperate with him. Introduction, chapter 7, verses 3 and 7. Lesson 2. There are two types of living entities. Those who are in the material world and others who are in the spiritual world. Chapter 15, verse 16. Lesson 3. Those who are in the material world are subjected to threefold miseries inflicted by the material nature. Chapter 15, verses 7 through 10. Lesson 4. The spiritualists remain in complete harmony with the plan of God by cooperation. Chapter 3, verses 19 and 20, and chapter 18, verse 54. Lesson 5. The materialists are servants of passion and anger born of demoniac principles and are therefore punished by the external energy of Godhead, Maya. Chapter 16, verses 4 through 20. Lesson 6. Such materialists, when they listen to the instruction of Godhead, in other words, Bhagavad-gītā, attain to transcendental loving service of Godhead. Chapter 7, verse 14, and chapter 18, verses 65 and 66. And lesson 7, the utmost important duty of humankind is therefore to cooperate with the personality of Godhead. Chapter 9, verses 3, 22, and 24, and chapter 8, verses 15 and 16.
Thank you. So the first lesson begins, and it's everyone's duty to cooperate with him, with Krishna. Then the last lesson is therefore to cooperate with the personality of Godhead is the utmost important duty. So this is the pratigya, the thesis, and then the conclusion. They say the same thing. So everybody's aware? What are these lessons? Where did we take them from? What are the Adhikaranas? So Srila Prabhupada made this analysis on Gita by just writing down different points, and he calls them lessons. So he grouped them in three parts, Sambandha, Vira, and Prayojana. So out of these lessons, we picked up some of them and we upgraded this lesson to the Adhikarana level. Okay, so this is the main point, and the lessons are elaboration on the main point. But all these things are written by Srila Prabhupada, all lessons, and the references as well. So then we can start. Yes, was it? I know it's from Veda-based, but I guess. But the problem with it was that sometimes the references were not actually like here. For example, there is a reference. Every living entity. First lesson 1. Every living entity is Godhead's parts and parcel, and it said everyone's duty to cooperate with him. And then the reference given there in the original document didn't match not always was matching the lesson. So the theory was that this was done a long time ago when Prabhupada wrote the first commentary on Gita that was stolen, and he had to rewrite it. So therefore, it didn't match. Okay. So then the devotees, they took this not matching references and they tried to match them wherever they appear in the Prabhupada's purpose. So they came up with these things. Not all of them, some of them were matching, but some not. So this was the part of the compilers of this study guide. They were trying to trace back what is the original reference base. And yeah, maybe back to Godhead. So we are The Adhikaranas and the lessons supported by the bhakti propositions. Page 6. Briefly. The Sambandha part of the Bhagavad-gita analysis established that the living entities and the material nature are subordinate to Godhead. That the living entities, although spiritual by nature, are conditioned by the inferior material energy, and that they can be freed of this conditioning only by the mercy of Godhead. Next, the Vidya part will explain how the living entities can attain this mercy of Godhead through the process of devotional service. The Sambandha part established that all living entities are parts and parcels of Godhead. The Vidya part opens with the same statement, pointing out to its natural consequence. So the Sambandha was just the statement, and here it is the logical consequence. Like if you are, I'm in love with somebody, so that means you have to do something. It is to show your love, buy flowers, something. So the current one, every living entity is Godhead's part and parcel, and it is everyone's duty to cooperate with him by performing transcendental service. So this is lesson 1, and then from the introduction to Bhagavad-gita. So this first is the bullet point here is the, you can say, the summary of the paragraph, the excerpt of from the purport. So 2 divisions of materialistic consciousness. Srila Prabhupada writes, what is this consciousness? The consciousness is I am. So what is consciousness? Modern, mundane, materialistic scholars cannot explain it. Srila Prabhupada explains that it is the symptom of the soul. The soul is conscious and about himself and about the environment. It's supposed to be God conscious as well. So this individual unit of consciousness, it's individual, it has identity as something separated, somebody separated from the rest of the souls. So what is this consciousness? I am. Then what am I? In contaminated consciousness, I am means I am the Lord of all, I survey, I'm the enjoyer. The world revolves because every living being thinks that he is the Lord and creator of the material world. Material consciousness has 2 psychic divisions. One is that I am the creator, and the other is that I am the enjoyer. Creator, sometimes Srila Prabhupada says controller, and the enjoyer. So you create something. Why? People put so much in there to create something, to build a house, to create yes, a business empire, so that you can enjoy. So these are the 2 aspects of the polluted, conditioned consciousness, contaminated consciousness.
Is this the last contaminated material body it takes in the sense karana body it says something like
Karma. Yeah, it's more like subtle body. Karma Deha is even more. Yeah, you can say. Yeah, because
the last layer.
Right. It's not yet specified what do you want to create, what do you want to enjoy.
Okay.
So that very idea that I want to, doesn't matter, something I have to control and enjoy, yes, you can say it's the karma deha, the seed of desire. Desire still is not specified. This comes later in creation when the desire becomes very fixed on something. So we have to get rid of also this concept that I'm the control and enjoy. Because otherwise, we'll always try to find something. We'll get frustrated by controlling and enjoying this object, but then we'll find some other object. The generic concept should be rejected. Not rejected, but should become detached. Because rejection means I'm still attached to it.
Then like after karma there comes then false ego, then like that.
Something like that. I'm not sure how. You have to see the third canto. But these are the different stages of creation, and karma deha is the stage where the soul doesn't have subtle body, in the sense that it is fixed on particular desire, but it has generic desire to enjoy and control. So it is, I think the level of sankarshan. Then pradyumna is the intelligence, and then nirvana is the full-fledged, then you awake, Jagrata stage, and then you see the environment, and you start acting. So karma deha, and then what is the other one? Stula sharira is the gross body. See, subtle body. But they come in different stages. Just like Pradhan, Mahatattva, and Prakriti, there are different stages of manifestation of the material nature. They actually correspond to the different stages in awakening this lusty desire to control and enjoy. When it's very vague, just the principle is there, I am the control and enjoyer, then it is this homogeneous state. Then when it becomes more subtle, then becomes Mahatattva state, when the elements are there already, but they are not active, not fully active, and then when the full-fledged desire appears in the soul, then it has to be facilitated by the Lord, so the whole material creation. That's the function, as we know it. Okay, the actual position of the living entity is a cooperator. So what are we? We are not the enjoyer, we are a cooperator. But actually the Supreme Lord is both the creator and the enjoyer. And the living entity, being part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, is neither the creator nor the enjoyer, but a cooperator. He's the created and the enjoyed. For instance, a part of machine cooperates with the whole machine. A part of the body cooperates with the whole body. The hands, legs, eyes, and so on are all parts of the body. But they are actually the enjoyers. But they are not actually the enjoyers. The stomach is the enjoyer. The legs move, the hands supply food, the teeth chew, and all parts of the body are engaged in satisfying the stomach, because the stomach is the principal factor that nourishes the body's organization. Therefore, everything is given to the stomach. One nourishes the tree by watering its roots, and one nourishes the body by feeding the stomach. For if the body is to be kept in a healthy state, then the parts of the body must cooperate to feed the stomach. Similarly, the Supreme Lord is the enjoyer and the creator, and we, as subordinate living beings, are meant to cooperate to satisfy him. So we are not what we thought we are, what we still think to some extent we are. And it's a very deep transformation that we have to undergo, because since time immemorial we are thinking in these terms, control and enjoy, and now we have suddenly to switch to different mode, which means I'm the enjoyed, I'm cooperating. It's not easy, but this is the root of our program. And if you can change this identity, and if you can assume our real identity, then all other problems will be solved in no time. It can take some time, but this is like to know what is the root cause of the disease, and you eliminate it. Then it's just a matter of time before you get help. Otherwise, if you just fight the symptoms, sometimes the devotees ask questions like, how can we acquire good qualities? We can acquire good qualities, but the way to acquire good qualities is by becoming devotee. And this means changing our identity from control and enjoyer to servant. So by this one thing, by this one change in our life, because from this change we have to act also as servants, then everything will fall into place in due course of time. It may take some time, but compared to the eternity, it's not long. Yes.
Is it that although he doesn't realize that he is not the cooperator, he's meant to cooperate?
Yes, therefore he's suffering because he doesn't cooperate. Like, is this what you asked?
Yeah, I'm asking that, although he may not be realizing the fact that he is a cooperator, but we see the functions of material world go on, the time factor.
Yeah.
So the plan of the Lord doesn't change, right?
No, it doesn't change.
So only the living entity suffers.
Yeah. Just like one may not be aware that one may be so spaced out that he's not aware that the time for exam comes and he's not ready, he doesn't put it there, but then the time will come nonetheless, no matter what, and then he'll fail the exam. So we may not be aware. But therefore the Vedas give us this knowledge that we should become aware of Krishna.
My main question is that because the blueprint of the time flow is already given, there's like Satyuga, Dwapara, Treta Yuga, Kali Yuga. The blueprint is always there. So no matter whether the living entity cooperates or not, the plan of Lord is going to get executed, right?
Yeah.
So it is generally a misnomer that the people, if you take to the right consciousness, then the whole world will be like Vaikuntha or something like that.
Not necessarily. Prabhupada actually said that. If you watch this lecture from I think Rath in LA, Prabhupada said that if you all young people, if you all take up the Krishna consciousness, this world will turn into Vaikuntha. And also in some of Prabhupada's purport, he writes this. So the plan will, the Krishna's plan will come to pass, no doubt about it. But also living entities have free will. So somehow we have to balance between these two. Krishna knows what will happen. He knows past, present, and future, but we also have free will. We can choose. That means if the living entities decide to cooperate with Krishna, this will bring significant improvement in this situation in the world. Prabhupada, I think there was some statement that maybe 1%, 10%, I heard something. If they take out the population, take up Krishna consciousness, there will be great impact. But even if this doesn't happen, doesn't mean that Krishna's plan will not come. It will happen. Krishna's plan always prevails. With one exception, the plan of his pure devotee. Krishna's plan is always superior, but there is one exception. When Krishna's pure devotee has a different plan, then Krishna then prevails the desire of the devotee. So if Srila Prabhupada has this desire, it may happen. Still, it has to happen naturally. That means living entities we have to employ properly our free will. It will not happen automatically.
And that is the golden age, I think.
Golden age.
Yeah.
Yes. But again, it may happen, it may not happen. It depends on us. Like I heard found about the told me that I think Srila Prabhupada, according to him, Srila Prabhupada said that Kali is so simple, and people are so degraded that by now, according to the normal flow of the events, there should not be any more fruits, flowers, but only because there are devotees. Therefore, Krishna somehow supplies. In material nature, still supplies. There is still milk, there's still fruits, steal flowers, because they use them in Krishna service. But if not for the devotees, people don't deserve these things. It's a luxury for them. And also, if we're very active and preaching and performing the Dharma, then the demigods can cooperate. I mean, they already cooperate. There is a statement from Bhagavatam. Sri Prabhupada says that there is invisible chain connection between the Lord, the demigods, and the devotees on the planet, on this planet. So the demigods always try to help the devotees. And if we are actively preaching, then so many natural catastrophes may be delayed in time. Or they may not happen at all. But if we don't, then the karma will just automatically unfold. And the karma of the population of Kali is very bad. So they will have to suffer unless the devotees are very serious. Okay? So by this change of our identity, everything can be fixed. Then the real enjoyment of the living entity is service to the Supreme. This cooperation, Prabhupada continues, will actually help us. Just as food taken by the stomach will help all other parts of the body. If the fingers of the hand think that they should take the food themselves instead of giving it to the stomach, then they will be frustrated. The central figure of creation and of enjoyment is the Supreme Lord, and the living entities are cooperators. By cooperation, they enjoy. So this is the crucial point here. By cooperation, we can enjoy. So we enjoy by service. The great devotees of Krishna, they don't want to enjoy. Krishna forces enjoyment. They don't want, but they get it. Yes.
So you have still this mood of joy by cooperation.
Mm-hmm. It's coming up towards the end. No, you asked a question. No problem. I'm just
So it was my question.
It is natural because Sri Prabhupada writes, similarly, the Supreme Lord should be satisfied, although the tendency to become the creator and the tendency to enjoy the material world are there also in the living entities, because these tendencies are there in the Supreme Lord, who has created the manifested cosmic world. So these tendencies naturally there in us, because we are small. Prabhupada said, we are small Krishna. So it's natural that it is there, but only for him it's natural to satisfy this by controlling and enjoying. But for us it's not natural.
So does it mean, actually, have I changed my mentality from enjoyer to cooperator?
Have you?
Yeah, have I? If I cooperate for enjoyment,
Yes.
so have I really changed?
Theoretically, well, we're in the process of changing it. Whether it's fully changed, it's an individual thing. The Krishna knows. But it's a very good beginning, at least theoretically, to participate, to understand I have to participate in Krishna's enjoyment. This is my role. I will never be the hero. Sorry, or the heroine. These roles are already taken. Or you watch a movie, you know, and, there is a hero in some romantic movie. Why people watch it? Because they wanna actually experience the rasa. Like, I want to be in the shoes of this person. So bad news we will never be. It's not bad news. It's what we are, but we can assist. So this is the hard part for the conditions. You never be the controller and enjoy. Wow. Not in the way we think we should be. But we have very nice spot there. Very mercifully, Krishna has one guru was saying that right now the gopis and Radharani and the gopis, they have made space in Lok Vrindavan for you guys. So they created a facility for you. So now you can join. And if you think about this, about Lord Chaitanya, for example, his appearance, Krishna had a problem because he is the controller and enjoyer. He could not taste the rasa of the servant of Krishna. So therefore he appeared as Lord Chaitanya. Right? Some other confidential reasons, but this is one of the main. So in this sense, Krishna aspires to become a devotee of Krishna. So our position is not so bad if Krishna aspires to take this position. It's actually a glorious position. Also, he stated that the servants enjoy more. At least that much as the mother, actually more. But all these things will remain theoretical, although by some good fortune we accept them, but they will remain theoretical until we absorb ourselves in devotional service and actually experience this. Anything that is stated in Shastra, we have to experience. Not everything, we cannot be the supreme enjoyer, but regarding our position of servants, it has to be experienced. And then Bhagavatam says, Vidyate hridaya grantish, kshyante sarva samshaya. Then all doubts are destroyed and the knot in the heart is broken. Trishta eva tanishvaya. It's factual realization. Yes.
This concept of supplying the food to the stomach where it should be. So there's currently here in the material world a perverted reflection of that. Right now it's currently known as trickle-down economics. For a while it's been known like that. So the material version of it, so basically it's saying that the government should continue to tax the lower class people and give that money to the job creators, because the job creators will create more jobs, which will give you an opportunity to also become, wealthy.
Wow.
Right. So they give tax breaks to the rich. It's called trickle down. From a long time ago, or they used to call it Reaganomics. But the concept, it's the same as this, but it's a perverted reflection of it. So they're saying, well, this is the stomach. We're the stomach, and don't worry, we'll supply the.
In a sense, they are the stomach because.
Yeah, but they're not. They're not giving. They're not supplying anything to the. It's like a. Anyways, it's a whole. It's a perverted reflection. So my question then is, why is it that materialists, conditioned souls, are actually willing to accept this concept? Because a lot of people are, and go out of their comfort zone to serve this trickle-down system, but they're less willing to actually do it to actually feed the actual stomach, which is Christian system. Yeah, that's my question.
I think that it is connected to the level of piety of people. If whether we accept the statements of Shastra or we accept them partially, we accept them in some perverted way, or we don't accept them at all, it has to do with the level of piety that we have acquired in previous lives. That's what Krishna says in Gita. Yesham pantavatam papam janam purukama. Tedvan dumohan yita bhajanti manti. So, because the goal is ultimately sense enjoyment, and the goal justifies the means, but people will go after anything if they're sure, they're reasonably convinced that it will ensure their sense enjoyment in the future. So they don't care. They will perform pure devotions. I mean, it's not pure devotions, but they will do all the external activities of pure bhakti if they're convinced that this will give them satisfaction. So I guess
that ties in the Prabhu's question too. He was saying that if your motive is just to enjoy, and you hear here that if you give to the Lord and you enjoy,
that's the Karma Mimamsa. basically system. These are very pious people from the Vedic culture, Vedic background, who just want to use the Vedas as means to attain permanent sense enjoyment. They say, yeah, we know that this body is not eternal, that this situation is not eternal, but there is a way how you can always enjoy. And this is by being pious. If you're always pious, then you always get birth in heaven. So this is the pious version, and this is the kind of impious version of the same thing. Yes.
Prashant, 5-6 decades back in Indian villages, we can see the whole varnashram system. Even this 6 decades back, we can just see, because the whole system dwindled because we want to enjoy. The varnashram system, which is given by Krishna, has sustained for such long time in different yugas.
Yeah.
And in Kali Yuga, within 5-6 decades, we see the loss. So the focus is to enjoy, even to the matter of we are convinced that by varnashram system everyone is going to be happy. Yeah, even if you are convinced to that extent, but if your mindset is still that we want to enjoy, it is again going to dwindle.
It's called Asuri varnashram. Yeah. Yeah. I had a friend once who told me, if I know, there was a Kaddish. So he said, if I know that if I fast on a Kaddish today, full fast, tomorrow I'll get $100, I will do it. But you read all these nice results for the Kaddish, and there, some of them are really, far out. You go to heaven, you enjoy. We don't have, because of lack of piety. What was this? Namo Mahaprasade Govinde, Namo Brahmani Vaishnave, Svalpa Punya, Alpa Punya. If somebody has very alpa, very small piety, meager piety, then he doesn't have faith in Govinda, in the Brahmanas, in the Mahaprasadam, in the Kadashi. So, but by performing our duties, then we will acquire faith, because we will see the result in our own life. We will see the result in others. Then our faith will become strong. And by having strong faith, that means we'll have strong identity. Then people with strong identity, they're very confident, and they act very vigorously to attain their goal, which is, in our case, pure devotion service. Okay.
There was a story, I won't say the names because whatever. But there was one disciple of Srila Prabhupada. He wanted his son to read Bhagavad-gītā, and over the years he was encouraging him, but he still didn't read Bhagavad-gītā. So the Prabhupada disciple said, "I'll give you $100 if you read the Bhagavad-gītā." So he did, and he got the $100, but now he's a devotee. He's now initiated. He's now engaged properly. But so sometimes it takes that little bit of material trickery, but then you get hooked. It doesn't always work that way, but.
And because it's purifying, and it's our original position anyway, by hook or by crook. I remember now from 6th canto, there was this story of Aditi, the wife of, I'm not sure, Kashyapa. She wanted to destroy Indra. Not Indra. Diti wanted to destroy Indra because obviously they're competitors with her sons. And she served very faithfully her husband, and he wanted to give her a boon. Then she said, "Okay, I want this boon," and then he was mortified. Amazing. Material energy is so strong. But then he came up with a plan that he engaged her, although she had very questionable desire. Indra is the main demigod. He engaged her in, I think it was called Payavrata ritual, which at the end purified her so much that she didn't have this desire. So the beginning was can say very bad, and then but there was happy end by engagement in devotion. So
There's an interesting feature of that because he gave that vow to her. It was a very long vow, right? So she would have had to maintain that hatred for a very long time while going through this purification.
1 year, I think.
But he also gave other vows to others that were quite short because it already started out with it was a pious thing they wanted to do. So, okay, you do this vow like that, you'll get the result. Just as short. But for her, since hers was, not so pious, the vow was longer because you need a longer time to purify yourself.
Yeah. And if you just want some pious thing, then it's smaller in comparison. Smaller purification.
Still need some purification so that you're more focused on Krishna than yourself. But for something like that, it required much more.
Yeah.
It's always a challenge when it comes to cooperation. One thing is that one group says to establish Varnashram Dharma, another group says it's not so important.
Yeah.
First we should practice Krishna consciousness. We are at the level of, we are not this body. It sometimes it becomes very difficult to cooperate what is actually what.
Yeah.
So either it should have a balance of both, or over a period of years, I got convinced that earlier I was with the full idea of unless there is a culture of Varnashram, there is nothing going to happen. Point is, one is going to appreciate Varnashrama if it is purified. That purification is done by Krishna consciousness, and I got convinced that such a great society got we lost it because the aim was not to serve the Supreme Personality of God.
Yeah.
So it convinced me again that Krishna consciousness is the main thing. That and if people become Krishna consciousness, then they will automatically choose a society which favors their Krishna consciousness.
Mm-hmm. And that's Varnashram.
Yeah, that's Varnashram. So is it the right way of approach?
Yes, I think so. At the same time, what Srila Prabhupada said, our founder Acharya. He said that only half of his work is done. So we have very clear instructions by the Śāstra-cakṣuṣā Acharya. So we cannot just take part of his instructions and delete them. Yes, what you're saying is true. At the same time, it's our duty to try to implement, because he tried, he did. To implement some elements, some principles of Varnashram and see, honestly, what we know, we can practice what we don't know, we try to find out, pray for realizations, because it has to be practical. It means it has to be applied properly, so otherwise it won't work. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur also said, I forget where, but he said that you could just focus on bhakti, but then on pure bhakti. But then the problem is that the life in general will be difficult because it's not pious enough, the lifestyle. And for those of us who are not ready to just to chant Hare Krishna and read Bhagavatam the whole day, and they want to have also some material facilities, they need some regulation from the sattvic perspective, which is Varnashram. Otherwise, they will fill it up automatically with some other religion which is not so conducive.
Yes. Even from childhood we were seeing in our homes we used to perform Satya Vrata, Satyanarayan Vrata.
Yeah, I heard of it. What is it?
Yeah, many South Indians do in their homes very frequently. They do it for their material benefits. But at least they perform some austerity And in the end, they offer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead everything. So there is an element of devotion very nicely embedded in that system, that you are automatically, in the sense, getting participated in the pure devotional service, which slowly purifies them. In that kind of system, if you want to perform, go ahead very fast, there is a scope. If you want to go slowly, there is a scope. And that will be smooth. In a non-pious system, it will be with bruises.
Exactly, that's what Bhakti-yoga says. Because material energy will take revenge, like Prabhupada was saying. They're worshipping, somebody told him they're worshipping somewhere Mangal Devi. Prabhupada said they're worshipping Mangal Devi, but a Mangal Devi will come instead. It's like this. Because Rajas and Tamas, they have certain effects you cannot avoid. And anything below Varnashrama is Rajas or Tamas. As a social structure, we see around the world. It doesn't work. That's the problem with it.
It is very much evident in the modern world. It doesn't take much time to realize that you are suffering.
Yeah. Well, I spent some time. I lived for 2 years in Benelux, Belgium, Holland. It's just one place, basically, no borders. So when you ask Dutch devotees, so how are you, Prabhu? They say, some of them, they say, well, still suffering. I'm very much aware these people suffer. But externally, they're very confident. Church uncle.
Yeah, sorry, back to so the Pyravarta was actually for a DT. That was to get Vamana, because as the son. So that one was 13 days. But the Pumsavana vow for DT, that was a full year. So that was that one. So the Paya was the other.
Thanks. Thank you. Correct. Yeah. Okay. So then 7.3. Out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection, and of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. Footnote: in a similar vein, the Lord will later say, Samahatma Sudurlabha. These great souls are very rare, Bhagavad-gītā 7.19. And Mamto Vedana Kaśchana. No one knows me, but I know everyone. Bhagavad-gītā 7.26. Only the devotee can know Krishna. It is not possible for the Brahman realized impersonalist or the Paramatma realized yogi to understand Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead, as the son of Mother Yashoda or the charioteer of Arjuna. Even the great demigods are sometimes confused about Krishna. Mukhyanti yat suraya. Mamtu vedana kaśchana. No one knows me as I am, the Lord says. And if one does know him, then Samahatma Sudurlabha. Such a great soul is very rare. Therefore, unless one practices devotional service to the Lord, one cannot know Krishna as he is tattvata, even though one is great scholar or philosopher. Only the pure devotees can know something of the inconceivable transcendental qualities of Krishna. His being the cause of all causes, his omnipotence and opulence, and his wealth, fame, strength, beauty, knowledge, and initiation. Because Krishna is benevolently inclined to his devotees. This is the only reason, because he reveals himself. He is the last word in Brahman realization, and the devotees alone can realize him as he is. When Narada Muni, who is, can say, one of the greatest devotees, when he visited Krishna in Dwarka, he was very, very surprised, not surprised, but what's this stronger word? Astounded by Krishna's pastimes, even him. And he went to many different palaces and he saw Krishna doing different pastimes. And he was, at one point when he saw, I think the third palace where he entered, he saw Uddhava, Krishna and Satyabhama were playing dice or something, and then Uddhava was there. And then this was already the third palace he entered. And when Krishna saw him, he immediately stood up and he said, "My dear great sage," this is the third time already happens. He seated him, he wanted to worship him, and Narada Muni just looked, and without saying a word, he just turned back and he left. It was too much. So he just so what about us? What about ordinary devotees, and what aspiring devotees, and what about non-devotees? Then 7:7. O conqueror of wealth, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me, as pearls are strung on the thread. The absolute truth is the personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna. There is a common controversy over whether the Supreme Absolute Truth is personal or impersonal. As far as Bhagavad-gītā is concerned, the Absolute Truth is the personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, and this is confirmed in every step. In this verse in particular, it is stressed that the Absolute Truth is a person. That the personality of Godhead is the Supreme Absolute Truth is also the affirmation of the Brahma Samhita. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchitananda Vigraha. That is the Supreme Absolute Truth, personality of Godhead, is Lord Krishna, who is the primeval Lord, the reservoir of all pleasure, Govinda, and the eternal form of complete bliss and knowledge. These authorities leave no doubt that the Absolute Truth is the Supreme Person, the cause of all causes. So we have footnote here. Srila Baladevi Bhushan comments on this verse as follows. Arjuna says, since you say that you are the cause of inferior and superior prakritis, I can understand that you are the seat of the universe. But that still does not put you in the supreme position. There is something higher than the seat, the Shruti says. Higher than this, there is that which has no form, which is free of defects. Those who know this become immortal, whereas others suffer. So here's the Mayavadi claim. Higher than this, and they mean, by this they mean everything that has form, material form, or for them form is material. Higher than this is that which has no form. But Krishna will explain here that the real meaning here is higher than this, that means this material world is the spiritual world where there is no material form, only spiritual form. That's the meaning actually. So Krishna says, no, there is nothing superior to me. There is nothing superior to Krishna, your friend. It's a very nice way he put it. I alone am the supreme object, Arjuna says. But we hear in the Vedas that there is something higher in such statements, which I just quoted. Krishna says, this is a foolish idea which is easily defeated. It is said, I know that great Purusha with shining complexion, superior to darkness. Knowing him, one surpasses that. There is no other path of liberation. Śāstra-cakṣuṣā Upanishad 3:8. In the above verse, it is stated that there is no other method of attaining freedom from that than knowledge of Vishnu, the Mahapurusha, the seat of all the universes. To establish this fact, it is then said, there is nothing superior, nothing inferior, nothing smaller, and nothing greater than the Lord. Śāstra-cakṣuṣā Upanishad 3:9. This is stated to show the impossibility of anyone else being supreme. In this way, the Lord's remoteness and supremacy is shown. Therefore, the Gita verse states that there is nothing superior to me. It's interesting, Krishna says the Gita verse instead of saying I say in Gita, because he speaks about himself. This being the case, those objections arise only from faulty interpretations. The writer of the Vedanta Sutra, Vyasa, says, Tathanya Pratishedhat. His supremacy must be accepted because of texts, negating anything superior. Vedanta Sutra 3.2.36. As there is no one superior to me, I alone am the shelter of all others. Thus everything is strung on me, as pearls are strung on a thread. By this statement I mean that I maintain the whole universe. Okay? Is this clear?
Yeah, this is like 3.8, 3.9, and then 3.10. Śāstra-cakṣuṣā Upanishad. The first Arjuna quoting was from 3.10. Śāstra-cakṣuṣā Upanishad.
Yes,
And here Krishna
he's quoting
quoting Śāstra-cakṣuṣā Upanishad
the previous
3.8 and 3.9.
Yeah, apparently that's
Yeah.
what happens.
So it is taken out of the context. If you see from this context, it seems to be evident.
Yeah, evident for what?
You know, the 3.8 says that I know that great Purusha with shining complexion, superior to darkness.
Yeah,
So this is darkness. That's what superior.
this is darkness.
Yeah.
Yes. That means the material, tamas, the material. It's dark. So I think it's from Purusha. Veda hametam purusham mahantam dityavarnam tamasastu. I think it's the same verse. So the whole thing is that when they say this, they somehow include Krishna in it. If anyone appears here in this realm, he must be Maya, because I can see him, I can talk to him. He has a form, he has a name. Automatically, this means that he's illusion, and that is without form, without name. This is the spirit, Nirguna Brahma. And Krishna points out that it's not like that.
You can see their confusion though, if they're just reading these verses, because it's talking about Krishna's superiority. And then it says higher than this.
Yeah.
Because in the last verse he's ending with Krishna being the supreme. And then he says higher than this. So you could see where they could get confused because it's referring back to before higher than this material world. But if you just look at the previous verse.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
you can understand why they would be confused if they don't have a proper teacher to explain it.
Yeah. Okay. So this was lesson 1. Vritti. The living entities are obliged to cooperate with the Lord in order to attain their goals. So this was lesson 1. After establishing this in the first lesson, in the second lesson, Srila Prabhupada describes the 2 types of living entities who are obliged to cooperate with the Lord, the fallible and the infallible. Okay, so this is the logic. Everyone is obliged to cooperate. Lesson 2. There are 2 types of living entities, those who are in the material world, and A, and B, those who are in the spiritual world. 15:16. There are 2 classes of beings, the fallible and the infallible. In the material world, every living entity is fallible, and in the spiritual world, every living entity is called infallible. So, who wants to read the purport?
Fallible means changing the body. In the material world, the living entity undergoes 6 changes: birth, growth, duration, reproduction, then dwindling and vanishing. These are the changes of the material body. But in the spiritual world, the body does not change. There is no old age, there is no birth, there is no death. There all exists in oneness. Śāstra-cakṣuṣā bhutani. Any living entity who has come in contact with matter, beginning from the first created being Brahma, down to a small ant, is changing its body. Therefore, they are all fallible. In the spiritual world, however, they are always liberated in oneness. Oneness with God means unity of purpose. The living entities are eternally separated parts and parcels of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When they are in contact with the material world, they are called jiva-bhuta. And the Sanskrit word given here, ksharak-sarvani bhutani, mean that they are fallible. Those who are in oneness with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, however, are called infallible. Oneness does not mean that they have no individuality, but that there is no disunity. They are all agreeable to the purpose of the creation.
Any questions regarding fallible and infallible? How to refer to these? Pretty straightforward.
Yeah. You say that infallible, the infallible becomes fallible,
If
or
they
there is a
misuse
separate
their free will.
category infallible.
Huh?
Is there a separate category infallible, or infallible becomes fallible?
Infallible means you're properly situated, but if you misuse your free will, then you're here, then you become.
Fallible.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there is always this category, fallible and infallible, or in the sense that infallible will always be infallible.
Say that last part again.
No, I'm saying,
Infallible will always be infallible.
yeah,
Is that what you
this fallible,
Uh-huh.
so those are actually infallible but became fallible, or there is always a separate category of infallible.
You're trying to overlay two different concepts of time. Here in the material world, time is linear, right? So here, something begins, it grows, blah, 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 it ends, right? So here, everything's fallible, right? This is where we are now. So we have a tendency to think in this linear way. When we're in spiritual consciousness, we're infallible, yeah. But there's no beginning and end there. Everything's eternal. It's not that we miss something once we go back to Godhead. Then, oh, what did I miss? And then we have to catch up on all the things that happened. There's no past. There's the concept of past, but it doesn't work like that. So it's essentially, when you ask that question, it's trying to overlay two different concepts of time, right? It's trying to understand something spiritual, but with our limitation of material time. So it doesn't work that way. So for this purpose, it means you're in the material world changing body. That means you're fallible because you can fall. But pure consciousness, then that's infallible.
Yeah, I need to say that in the spiritual realm also, in infallible, there are categories who can become fallible. Kind of Nitya Siddhas and
Siddha means you're there, Nityabhata means you're here. Same thing, fallible and infallible.
yeah,
You can say those
in the
things.
category of infallible, there are some who will not come again.
Definitely don't come again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they don't come.
You only come here once. In general, you're saying no. There are people that never ever.
Yeah, never ever
Yeah,
come. So only few of them have that.
yeah, we're an elite group
Yeah.
that made the wrong decision. It's not a good elite group. But yeah.
Where are we?
The vritti for the
Oh, the
transition between two.
Okay. Having described the general characteristics of the two types of living entities, the fallible and the infallible, in essence, 3 to 5, Srila Prabhupada describes in detail the two types of fallible living entities, the demoniac and the divine. So now we are here, in the fallible. Lesson 3. Those who are in the material world are all subjected to threefold miseries inflicted by the material energy. 15.7. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the 6 senses, which include the mind. The living entities is eternally fragmental part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. In this verse, the identity of the living being is clearly given. So, the identity is, it is fragmental part and parcel of the Supreme Lord eternally. It is not that he assumes individuality in his conditioned life, and he is liberated, and in his liberated state becomes one of the Supreme Lord. He is eternally fragmented. It is clearly said Sanatana. So this is argument against the Mayavadis. Misuse of independence leads to struggle in the material world. Every living entity, as an individual soul, has his personal individuality and a minute form of independence. That means we can choose where do we stay, under the protection of the divine energy or under Mahamaya. But we cannot choose, I want to become the Lord and the Master. Therefore, it's minute independence. We can choose our masters, we cannot choose to be the master. Unless we choose to control our senses and the mind, then we can be the master, by Krishna's mercy. Somebody asked one guru, so like he was saying, but I have a tendency to control and enjoy. He said, yeah, then control and enjoy your mind. I mean, not enjoy, control your mind in senses. By misuse of that independence, one becomes a conditioned soul, and by proper use of independence, he is always liberated. In either case, he is qualitatively eternal as the Supreme Lord is. In his liberated state, he is freed from the material condition, and he is under the engagement of transcendental service to the Lord. In his conditioned life, he is dominated by the material modes of nature, and he forgets the transcendental loving service of the Lord. As a result, he has to struggle very hard to maintain his existence in the material world. So, and how exactly this happens? It is explained in the next verse. By having our own opinions independent, and being very attached to our own opinions. This is how all this happens. 15.8. The living entity in the material world carries his different conceptions of life from one body to another, as the air carries aromas. Thus he takes one kind of body and again quits it to take another. So it's a very nice analogy. Air is pure, but when it Prabhupada explains in one purpose, I think in this purpose, and there is some other. Pure air goes, when there is a wind, and it goes to a flower garden and it carries this nice scent. But if the same air goes to a filthy place, then it carries stench. So the air is, the soul is what it is. But because it has been, has decided that I want to associate with this particular combination of the three modes, then it carries certain flavor. Therefore, by talking to somebody, you'll be observing him, you can catch this flavor. It is specific aroma that all of us we have. So that's the thing. We have to, by devotional service, to purify ourselves. Otherwise, Krishna won't come close. Because we stink, unless we are purified. Not that Krishna doesn't like us, but let's say somebody is very dirty and sweating, and he comes and he wants to enter your house. You say, you're welcome, but please go outside first, take shower, put clean clothes, and then you're welcome. No, we want to come like this, you know. So, therefore, Krishna is in the heart, and at the same time it is stated he's in the heart, but also it is stated that all the great sages, they prepare nice vyasasam, throne, and then invite Krishna in their hearts, and then invite Krishna. So it's still, you have to be purified so that he comes. Okay. Suffering in the material. And that's another thing about our opinions. We have to be aware that our opinions are not us. It is not part of the soul. We may have very firm opinions about things, but we may be wrong. We may be wrong. Only when we attain liberated platform, then we can be fairly convinced that we are right. Until then, we should keep always one healthy amount of doubt about our own opinions. Doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that now we have to doubt everything. No, whatever Krishna says in Gita, whatever this absolute knowledge is true. But my interpretation of this knowledge, my application in practical life, maybe sometimes it is little off. So we have to keep this. It's healthy. Otherwise, we're convinced that my mind distributes the absolute truth 24/7, and that's unhealthy. Whatever I say, because I said it, it must be true. That's sure. I remember reading Jiva Goswami, one of the Siddharthas, he was saying something. He was making a point, and then the next sentence was, "This is what I think, and if I'm wrong, I pray the Lord forgive me if I'm wrong." I pray to be forgiven by the Lord if I said something wrong. He is the greatest philosopher, and he has this. So what about it? Always, maybe and this is the meaning of accepting authority in our life. Authority means that we're completely convinced, and then authority tells us you're fool. And then we have to say yes, I'm fool, and you're right. Otherwise, we don't really accept it authority, right? Of course, we are allowed to question the authority in the sense we can ask for, just like Arjuna asked Krishna for a logical explanation. But unless we accept that I might be actually completely wrong here, and there is no need to have authority, then you have authority, you are always right. Okay.
I heard somewhere also that the symptom of a person who is having knowledge is humble.
Yeah. I think Mahabharata. The result of proper education is also in Bhagavad-gītā. Amanittam Vikam, Krishna says the beginning of knowledge is humility and lack of absence of pride. And this doesn't mean that we are insecure. It's a different thing. We're confident and humble at the same time. Confident about Krishna's teaching. Can go out and present them confidently, but at the same time, we also humble. Okay, the individual soul. So what is this? Suffering in a material body is called struggle for existence. The individual soul is transmigrating from one body to another, and his present body and present activities are the background of his next body. So according to the scent we carry, according to the aroma, we will get different body. One gets a different body according to karma, and he has to quit this body in due course. It is stated here that the subtle body which carries the conception of the next body, develops another body in the next life. This process of transmigrating from one body to another and struggling while in the body is called karshati, or struggle for existence. Prakriti-stami karshati. So we have our worldview, we have our tastes, our preferences, which are very dear to us. What we are not aware usually is that all these things are the blueprint of the next gross body we get. Already in this body, just by, if somebody knows, just by observing somebody's tastes or opinions and religion, habits, he can tell what type of body he will get in the next life. Yes.
Recently, I had a conversation with one of my relatives. He was asking a question that the process of transmigration, when one does sinful activities, he is sent to hell to have the reactions. And after that, then he takes a body in the animal species, 84 lakh species. 4 lakh species is humans. And how exactly the transmigration happens from the animal life to human life? I mean, how the transformation occurs in a broader way, not specifically, but is there any reference of it in the Puranas?
Yeah, what I heard is that there are 3 gates. Maybe you know this. There are 3 gates for entrance in the human form of life, and 6 out of it. So 3 are the gates that you enter: monkey, lion, and cow.
Okay.
So and there are 6 out of it: cats and dogs with 1, crow also. Therefore, there are so many cats and dogs in the Western world. It's amazing, everywhere.
There are 6. These are 6 other.
There are 6 gates to where you get out, where you fall down.
Oh,
Into
okay.
samsara.
Okay.
Cats, dogs, crow, and I don't remember, but there are 3 for entrance in the human form of life. And cow means a sattvic person, lion means rajas, and monkey means tamas. Therefore, in one purport, Srila Prabhupada complains about some of his disciples not being able to follow the principles, although they have given a vow, and then he says that, well, this is because they came from monkeys. They were monkeys, and then they became humans. Therefore, they just cannot follow. So how it happens exactly, I don't know. It is a gradual process of elevation of consciousness through struggle for existence, through karshati, through tapasya.
It is like the subtle body impressions. Impressions, they have to take different kinds of animal body where such kind of desire is satisfied there, and then
you end up exactly in the same human situation from where you fall down.
Okay.
So you are given the same choices, basically.
So he doesn't have to move around all the 80 lakh species. Is it necessary, or
who? After hell, he has to go through.
he has to go through all the species? 84 lakh? I mean, 80 lakhs?
That's what I heard. Cannot give you a reference. Maybe sometimes there is an exception. Maybe somebody is allowed to skip some. I don't know, but usually he has to go through this.
Okay.
And then he gets again human form, and then he is put in a very similar situation. Because we have to take the proper decision.
That's a lot, 84 lakh species.
So therefore, therefore we have a quotation here from Ramanuja-charya. You can find it for you. Yeah. This is confirmed by Sripad Ramanuja-charya, who writes in his commentary to 9.3. So let me give you the 9.3 Bhagavad-gītā. Those who are not faithful to this devotional service cannot attain me, O conqueror of enemies. Therefore they return to the path of birth and death in this material world. So Prabhupada says, those who have no faith, even after hearing about Krishna and the excellence of devotional service, who think that it is simply eulogy, find the path very difficult, even if they are supposedly engaged in devotional service. For them, there is very little hope for gaining perfection. This faith is very important in the discharge of devotional service. And then Ramanuja-charya comments, whoever having the golden opportunity after thousands upon thousands of lifetimes to worship the Supreme Lord, but are found lacking in determination and attention, as well as fervent longing. This is Lala Samari, fervent longing. Greedy. Due to insufficient faith, fail to reach Lord Krishna and instead are forced to be propelled into the little current of samsara, which is very terrible. Oh, how dangerous and perilous human existence is. So now we have the chance, but if we're not fervently very if you don't have this greed to attain Krishna, and we're not focused. Yeah, so this is answering. Okay, where are we now? 15:9. The living entity, thus taking another gross body, obtains a certain type of ear, eye, tongue, nose, and sense of touch, which are grouped about the mind. He thus enjoys a particular set of sense objects. So according to our opinions, as we said, according to our concepts, we get appropriate set senses to enjoy. That's what happens. People don't know. We don't know about this. You develop particular taste to enjoy certain food. This taste corresponds to a certain body. That's it. You cannot say anything. You cannot say, oh no, I didn't mean that. Just like in the material world also, you did something and then you didn't know it's a crime, but nobody excuses you for this example. You don't know the law doesn't mean that you won't suffer the consequence. Then 15.10, the foolish cannot understand how a living entity can quit his body, nor can they understand what sort of body he enjoys under the spell of the molds of nature. But one whose eyes are trained in knowledge can see all of this. So the foolish cannot understand the change of body. Every living entity is quitting his body under certain circumstances. He is living under certain circumstances, and he is enjoying under certain circumstances under the spell of material nature. The enjoyment part is also terrible in the material world, because so many living entities have to eat so much disgusting substances, for example. It's also so-called enjoyment, but it's actually suffering. As a result, he's suffering different kinds of happiness and distress under the illusion of sense enjoyment. So you think you sense enjoy, and actually you suffer. Persons who are everlastingly fooled by lust and desire lose all power to understand their change of body and their stay in a particular body. They cannot comprehend it. Those who have developed spiritual knowledge, however, can see that the spirit is different from the body and is changing its body and enjoying in different ways. A person with such knowledge can understand how the conditioned living entity is suffering in this material existence. Lesson 3 describes the precarious condition of the demoniac souls struggling for existence in the material world. Lesson 4, in contrast, describes the divine souls who cooperate with the world. Okay, so lesson 4 will continue tomorrow. A question?
Yeah. Our conceptions, our opinions depend on three modes of nature, right?
Yes.
So, three modes of nature higher than our opinions. So first the gunas and then
Yes. Yes. It's very clearly described by Śāstra-cakṣuṣā in Bhagavad-gītā. And there is in the chapter, I think 17, chapter, the divisions of faith,
Yeah.
describes them. So there is a certain combination of the modes we attracted to, and once we get established in this, of course they always change, they always fight for supremacy, Krishna says, but still there is something like a general mood we want to enjoy. And once this is fixed, here you go, you get everything. It's a whole set coming. You name your favorite food, your clothing, your friends you hang out with, your religion, your family you will be born, your girlfriend, boyfriend, everything. The school that you'll go, music you'll enjoy. And people think I'm expressing myself. This is my individual choice. Just imagine your most cherished moments in life, like the favorite part of your life, when you thought that you fully express yourself as an individual person. These were just the modes. It's a particular combination of modes, and then in the course of time it changes, and then you're a different person. Yeah, I cannot enjoy this anymore. Like my soulmate. I thought I found my soulmate. Now I feel nothing. Like a friend of mine told me, he was waiting for the bus, and then there were two girls, teenage girls, talking. As they like to talk in the West, they're very loud, they don't care. So one of them was saying, "But I don't understand you. You just very recently you told me that he is the he's the guy, he's the right guy, he's the person for you in love with him. I don't understand what happened. It's just a few weeks later, and the other girl says, I don't know, I just don't know, I don't like this guy anymore. That's so, and then we embarrassed, because we thought that this is us, that's it, and then the goodness changed it, and then this guy. It's embarrassing. No stability. Therefore, dharma, varnashrama dharma, fixes these positions, and they are not done. They are not taken because of the whimsical desire, because of some short-lived passion, but it's as a matter of duty. It's science to support them, and they are not allowed. You cannot change them for this life, and that's a human life. The other one is embarrassing. Yes. Okay. We'll stop here. Om Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Sri Prabhupada ki jai, Samarita Bhakti-yoga ki jai, Gaur Pranam.